What up, everybody? This is the RGR Football Channel. My name's Daniel Harms, and today we're doing a little bit of a state of the Kansas City Chiefs video. And what this really comes down to is this is being recorded before the actual new league year starts officially earlier today, as this is being released. I believe that's how that works. They're recorded a little bit earlier before that, and then it comes out after it. So if you guys wouldn't mind updating in the comments things that have happened, if they have, in terms of more decisions, more news, anything like that that comes in the comments, just kind of keep it up to date for everybody. So I waited until the very last moment to be able to do this video for Wednesday, but the new league year has now begun, and we need to really kind of see where the Chiefs stand, what they have left to do, what they've done, some of the things surrounding them in free agency, and how they can continue to maximize on the situation that's unfolded. Really, free agency for me has not been a huge, big signing thing. Like, the Jaguars went out and signed a bunch of people, overspent more than anybody has to this point, and I think that that's pretty indicative of what's going on. You've seen a lot of the top end people, top end players still on the market, trying to hold out and really play, waiting for that Deshaun Watson domino to fall, it seems. And we're going to probably be waiting a little bit longer to see how that plays out. But we do know a few things. Darrell Williams and Byron Pringle did not re-sign with the Chiefs. They will both be testing free agency. We know that the Chiefs were able to rework the contract of Frank Clark. Now, when we talk about how this affects the Chiefs, when you have a player, my own personal feelings in this were to cut Frank Clark, okay? The issues with him, his legal action against him, his actual production on the field, all of that really weighed into the situation of him not being there. But when I took a step back, I understood why the Chiefs did this. It made a lot of sense because not only were they basically paying for Frank Clark in $1.2 million for this year, they would have if they cut him, then they would have been paying him anyway. That money still would have counted against the cap. But this way, they don't have to use that $1.2 million basically to find a player who might get 5+ sacks. The market for that is much more expensive. We're talking $6 to $8 million for players like that. And unfortunately, this makes the most sense for Kansas City this year. Ideally, if you're not comfortable with where you're at the draft and you think that you're not going to be in the market for some of these top defensive ends, even if you are, after this year, when Frank Clark is gone, if Melvin Ingram doesn't re-sign this year, if he doesn't have a longer period, you're still trying to get younger. So say you draft Boye Mafe, you have Joshua Kando, Malik Herring, these young guys that need development, okay? If you have a year with Frank Clark, you have some time now to develop them. It's not the best situation, obviously, and maybe he just doesn't play well again. Like, that's always going to be a thing. He just might not have a good year again, and that's really going to be up to him because at this point, he's trying to get another contract somewhere. He's not going to be in Kansas City past next year, in my opinion. There's pretty much a player option out for him after this next year, and they're going to cut him and it's going to be nothing. So I will assume that this entire season will be for the new defensive line coach Cullen to work with these younger guys, to work with whoever they're going to bring in, maybe whoever they draft, to get them up to speed for when Frank Clark is no longer on this team, and possibly if they do bring back Melvin Ingram when he's no longer on this team, to get them ready for that taking over period. They have to get younger, they have to get more athletic, they have to get faster. All of those played into understanding your situation, and you can't, as much as we want the Chiefs to turn that kind of thing over, there's only 2 or 3 defensive ends in this draft that are ready to start right now. And those guys are going to be gone in the top 10. I would say top 10 period. All of them are going to be gone. So you have to weigh the options. And I understand, like you said, I wouldn't have kept Frank Clark either, but it makes sense to not have to worry about replacing him and overpaying somebody like a Desarius Smith who's on the free agent market. So it makes a ton of sense, and I'm pretty okay with the situation unfolding in that direction. So that really takes care of how and what they have to do at defensive end to set themselves up for the future. They have tendered the contract of Jody Fordson. He will be back next year. That gives you your 3 tight end roster and your 3 tight ends that are going to not only make the roster but play. And I think that this makes a ton of sense for what the Chiefs want to do. We saw the connection between Jody Fordson and Patrick Mahomes really start to take off last year, and then he got hurt. I'm 100% of the opinion that Jody Fordson, even though he's an older guy now, and he's gone back and forth between wide receiver and tight end, trying to make a transition somewhere, he's an impact type of player. Maybe he's not an elite player, and that's fine. But I think he adds something to this team that Patrick Mahomes likes. He prefers to go throw the ball up to him. And he's a big dude, and he clearly has good hands. I think we've seen that to this point in the opportunities that he got. I'm going to be doing a little film review later in the offseason when all of this is cleared and we figure out what's going to happen about the connection between Jody Fordson and Patrick Mahomes and what the future of this offense can do around a 13 personnel type of look that they can still pass and throw out of, pass and run out of. They can really take advantage of what defenses want to do. So that's going to be coming later, but I love bringing him back. It makes a ton of sense. Michael Burton is back, as Ryan has told you guys. He was always going to be back. And then there's the only real free agent signing that they have. Justin Reed is now a Kansas City Chief. Sorry, I've got hair on my face. I'm just trying to get it off. I think you guys saw my film review yesterday. He's a guy who I really see can be help make this defense what it was in terms of having a glue safety. You have a safety tandem in Juan Thornhill and Justin Reed now that's young, it's athletic, it's fast, and I think that that's very, very important for today's NFL. As much as I love Tyrann Mathieu, and I still think that there's a chance he might be back in Kansas City, so I'm just saying, watch for that because there is definitely a way that he finds his way back. The market clearly isn't there for him because safeties have been going everywhere. Most of them are gone now. He's like the only name left. And there's not much of a market for over 30 safeties, especially ones whose physical tools are declining. But in this defense, he can 100% be back. So I'm not going to hold out hope for it or tell you what's going to happen. It's a possibility. It's much less of a possibility now, but I do think it is a possibility. We saw Charvarius Ward get extremely overpaid by the San Francisco 49ers, and good for him. I'm so happy for him being an unrestricted free agent, an undrafted free agent that was traded for from an offensive tackle the Chiefs weren't going to use, and they got a starter out of him, a tier 2.5, 3 starter in my opinion, who played extremely well in this system and really did everything you could have asked for him to, except maybe get his head around a little bit more. But that's neither here nor there anymore. He's on the 49ers. He got paid. He got his contract. Still 25 years old. I think that there is room to grow. With the 49ers being more a predominantly zone team, he might be a little bit better with that ball production. We're going to see how it ends up working for him. I'm always hoping for the best. But that's why he's not in Kansas City anymore. They would not pay him that. They do not think he's worth that. And unfortunately, for a lot of Chiefs fans who loved him, I don't think he's worth that either. And again, I'm so happy for him. I'll never, ever trash a player for going to get paid. I love it. And I hope to see everybody be able to do that who's a free agent, like, Darrell Williams and Byron Pringle. I want them to get their paydays and try to make some generational wealth. At the end of the day, if you're one of the 1% of the people in the world that can play this sport, I will always root for you unless you're just a trash human being. So let's just say that. We got to see the contract details for Justin Reed. That's a big thing. Yesterday, we got to see that. So in the grand scheme of things, he's got a $4.5 million cap hit this year. Great. Perfect. Works everything out for him. It gives you wiggle room to be able to sign players. And then you count for that, boom, in the cap going forward. We expect that. Over time, next year it goes to 12.7, and then in 2024 it's 14.2. All of this is very manageable. The first 2 years are less than what they've been paying Tyrann, and that 14 is what about average Tyrann was making in Kansas City. So I'm really happy with the contract, and I think that he's going to be 28 at the end of this deal. If he's playing really well, say into year 2 and getting some ball protection and doing everything you want him to, you're going to have that option to sign him to a longer term deal too. So another 3-year extension. It's a really good idea to see that those 3-year extensions for these safeties, you get to see them up close for a couple of years, and then you have that ability to say, okay, we're going to take you and sign you, especially because he's 25. It'll be 31 at the end of a 6-year period if that's what you're looking for. So that's really ideal to get the most out of that safety position, and I really like that. So we have a couple things today as well. The Chiefs tendered Derek Gore. Makes a lot of sense. I think that they're probably going to be looking to draft or bring in more UDFAs to fill roster spots. I think Clyde is now being given the keys. I don't think they're going to bring back Darrell. I think he's shown enough to get paid somewhere, at least a better deal than what he was getting in Kansas City. I don't think McKinnon's coming back. I think he's getting a bit older, and as much as he was a good change of pace last year, his speed is clearly declining from what it was. So I believe they're going to try to get younger, faster behind Clyde. But this, for me, is a look. We hope you have a great, healthy offseason, and we're going to turn, hopefully, the offense over to Clyde as being the 3-down back. We'll see how that turns out. Neither here nor there. Chad Henne is back once again as the backup, a 1-year, $2 million deal, and everything we kind of assumed until they're ready to hand over the keys to a younger guy that they can trust, and they don't really have that yet, so that makes a lot of sense. The last thing that we've seen is that the Chiefs have ramped up the conversation of the contract extensions with Tyreek Hill. It makes a ton of sense. He's going to get paid eventually over $20 million a year, everything he deserves, and I'm hoping for him. Hopefully it happens soon so we can see the details of that contract and how it will affect the Chiefs in free agency. Now let's get to some of the things that we've heard in terms of rumors. People that have been linked to the Chiefs, whether in interest or how we assume that they fit into the Chiefs scheme. Za'Darius Smith has been rumored to have the Chiefs have interest in. Makes sense. He fits sort of what they're looking at defensive end. We talked a little bit about him at the top, but the Chiefs I don't think they're going to be able to afford him. I don't think they're going to be in the market for him. But especially if you're looking to pay a high-level defensive end, I'm going more the route of a Chandler Jones. My own personal opinion. I think he brings more to the table on a 3-down basis and gives you more sack production, not just pressure production that we've seen out of this Chiefs defense. You need to keep getting those pressures, but also convert to sacks. So Za'Darius Smith, I think if you're going to get him on a smaller deal, not something around 17, 18 million. If you get underneath that $15 million a year number, then I think that can work. I think you can make that work. I would ideally like to see him in a 10 to 12 year, maybe a 1-year deal. If you see that his back is fully okay, you say, look, we're going to give you a year to show that you can still be that guy. Maybe you do a good job here and go get paid somewhere else. I'm totally okay with that option. I think that's perfectly okay. I think that there's wide receiver market for the Chiefs has been 3 guys, really. Allen Robinson, Juju Smith-Schuster, and now the addition of Jarvis Landry, who was cut by the Browns. That's going to be an interesting dynamic. I think that Landry is going to be... Actually, he's probably not even going to be the cheapest. I think that Juju Smith-Schuster is going to be the cheapest. But these 3 guys are probably all waiting for the Deshaun Watson news to see where he goes. And then they're going to try to sort that out from there. But seeing Christian Kirk just get absolutely overpaid by the Jags does make this a little more mine heavy in terms of landmines. You don't want to overpay for these wide receivers. You don't want to overpay for an aging Allen Robinson who might not be the guy he was. And I think that as far as the Chiefs being interested in Allen Robinson, unless they want to go to a different way of playing offense, then I don't get it so much. It makes more sense for me to get Jarvis Landry, even though he's older, maybe on a smaller deal to make a little bit more sense. But Juju is the ideal guy for me at this point. Still 25 years old, can play on the outside, can play on the inside. Ideally, he's going to take some of those underneath routes and let Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce do more intermediate to deep stuff to really try to take advantage of the spaces you're getting in zones. But those are the 3 wide receivers that we've heard. There is still going to be a market for safety on this team, even with Justin Reed. Like I said, I do think that there's a possibility that the Chiefs bring back Tyrann Mathieu. That is a possibility. But at the end of the day, I'm sorry, I'm just looking at some of the news. Okay, so Chandler Jones, as I'm talking about this, signs with the Raiders. Is finalizing a deal right now. Wow, that's impressive. Good for Chandler Jones. And again, this makes what I'm about to talk about even more important, okay? The Chiefs at right tackle absolutely need to get better. And I was of the opinion about a month ago that they'd be okay. After this last week and a half of all three teams now in the AFC West literally getting better at defensive end, that the duos that they have, all of them are scary for this offensive line at right tackle. I think that Brown can hold his own, but you're going to deal with some speed problems there. But that is, man, that we're talking about duos now in, let's see if I can remember off the top of my head. You have not Nick Chubb, excuse me, Bradley Chubb, and they just signed him yesterday. I'll come back to it. But you have the Raiders, and with Max Crosby and Chandler Jones right there in with the Chargers, you have now Joey Bosa, and trying to do this off the top of my head sometimes can be a very hard thing to do. But you have Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack now in LA, and then with the Broncos, you have Randy Gregory and you have Bradley Chubb. Finally, I did it. I remembered everything off the top of my head. And those guys can all come in at right tackle and really take advantage of the issue that you have. So what are the Chiefs going to do now? There are some rumors floating around about Lyle Collins. You're going to probably have to trade for him unless he gets released soon. Again, that hasn't been done to this point. But unless the Chiefs are very comfortable with their right tackle position, which I'm guessing they're not, with Lucas Niang coming off of an injury and Andrew Wiley having to be your right tackle most of the year last year, they have to get better. Now, that might bump right tackle up their draft. That was something I wasn't accounting for. And in the span of a week, we have a completely different change of direction. So right tackle is extremely important now for the future. It's for this year even. It's a three-headed monster of pass rush duos in the AFC West. And the Chiefs, they don't have a defensive end. They don't have anybody, really. They got nobody. This is turning into a pass rushing arms race, and the Chiefs are losing. They have to do something about this. They have to do it now. Hopefully they can figure out how to bring Melvin Ingram back. I think he's a big part of making that a thing. But, man, just dropping bombs, trying to do this live is crazy. I can't believe that. Obviously, and Wosu going to the Seahawks, no big deal. Doesn't affect them, but my God. Insane. So, back to the Chiefs free agency and the outlook now for the draft. I think that without a doubt, that last free agent signing, Chandler Jones to the Raiders, is going to have to push them into overdrive. If they haven't already started making moves by the time this video comes out, they will very soon. They're going to have to do some things quickly to nail down their right tackle position. And that's just the name of the game. So it kind of took me off my train of thought, but I think I covered most of it. Corner is going to be extremely important in the draft. I think they're going to have to heavily lay into that unless they plan on doing something in the next couple of days with some rudimentary pieces, not exactly starters, but guys you can get the most out of. But safety's still going to be in play. Corners, big play, especially in the draft. And they're still looking for a coverage linebacker, I think. And not having Neiman back right now is no big deal because they expect they're going to be able to sign him whenever they want to. So, yeah, right tackle now becomes extremely, extremely important. So, again, if you guys can do so in the comment section, update everything so people that are a little less up to date than most of us at this point with free agency can see what's going on. And again, I taped this. This is 1:23 p.m. Central Time right now. So there was going to be some moves still have to be made, things that will happen from now until this is released, and things that are going to be happening as it releases. So try to stay with me on that and know that I'm not live when I'm saying this. So this has been an insane change in the dynamic of the AFC West, specifically on defense. The Chiefs have to respond. They have to respond. They have to do something about it because at the end of the day, the Chiefs' offensive line's been great, but one area of weakness can completely derail not just a game, but a season, possibly do some harm to this team. So they got to nail that right tackle position down. Look for Lyle Collins to be on the block, maybe in Kansas City by the end of the week. So I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I know that the me reacting to news as it happens was a little scatterbrained at times and scrambled, but I hope you were able to enjoy it and keep me up to date on everything that's going on in the comment section with the free agency period. This is going to get a little crazy over the next few days, and I'm hoping that the Chiefs can find a way to counter and stay in it. Have a great day.
Thanks for watching this video from the team at RGR Football. Click these videos to see more and subscribe to RGR Football.